It's not the elimination of stress that is the goal.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's broadcast of the Jeff Heilman Project, your go-to podcast for systematized success in both family and business. You know a thing or two about managing stress.
I'm going to have Andrew put a Harvard Business Review article in the link for the podcast that I have probably sent to somewhere between 200 and 300 friends of mine over the last 20 years. It's the best Harvard Business Review article that I've ever read. Condolences to anyone who has a family member that passes away because of stress. And stress can be a massive perpetuation in life toward early death. It is not a subject to be treated lightly. What I can tell you is that as a professional athlete, as an entrepreneur, as a father of 7, as a sole breadwinner for 30 years for this family, I've certainly dealt with situations where stress was paramount. Tony Schwartz and Jim Loehr wrote a book called The Power of Full Engagement. Jim Loehr wrote another book called The Power of Story that he did on his own that did really well. That was what got me turned on to these two guys. Tony Schwartz wrote the Harvard Business Review article that'll be listed. Stress management comes down to a couple of things. And what I would say is that there's different views on stress. Some people really do not do well with stress, and they need help. They need medical help. They need potentially drugs or Eastern medicine alternatives. Number 2, there are ways of pushing waves of recovery to offset the waves of exertion that come with stress. And then number 3 has to do with the narrative of what the stress actually is. So the 3 different views of stress, which seem to be most prevalent. Number 1, that stress is bad and that it can kill you. And certainly it can. I know in Japan there was an epidemic for a period of over 10 years where people literally work themselves to death. They never get enough rest and they die. There's a specific name for it in Japanese, and I'll see if Andrew can look it up. There are people who look at stress as bad. They die early because the view of stress is bad. And then there's other people who have low stress lives. They don't live very long either. People who live the longest are the ones who see stress as good. They have high stress lives, but they see it as something that's good. And I would say that that's how I look at it. I look at stress and failure and problems. I tell people, somebody's like, we got a problem. And I've conditioned myself to be like, great, that's my favorite. Problems are my favorite. Make work your new favorite, right? From Elf. I love problems because problems give us something to do. They give us something to work on. And if we can solve a problem, then we make people's lives better. If we solve a really hard problem, we can make a lot of people's lives better. And when you make a lot of people's lives better by solving a complex problem, you better buckle up because the money is going to show up in dump truck loads in your front yard. So I love problems because on the other side of problems is always money. Bridge between the two is the art that you make. So you have a problem and then you make art to solve the problem. Or creativity, and then you get the money. I heard this on an Instagram reel the other day that this guy's always been able to make money as an artist because his dad taught him that there's nothing in art but money. There's nothing in art but money. As we go through the creative process of building some sort of a solution to some sort of a problem, the money and the resources are on the other side of that. So when I hear people say, I've got a problem, I literally start getting excited about it. People who look at stress, that's bad. Let's talk about that. If people view stress as bad, there's nothing you can do in your life to rid your life of stress. I've never met anybody who did not have any stress in their life. I've met people who have experienced very low levels of stress in their lives, but it wasn't because the inputs weren't there. We live in the modern world. It's not the elimination of stress that is the goal. It's how we deal with it and how we frame it. There are other people that have low stress lives because they just try to avoid stress at all costs. And that sounds like the most stressful thing I can imagine. Stress is just part of life. And then the other folks who look at stress as being a good thing. I may retire. I don't know. I'm on sabbatical right now and I'm enjoying myself immensely. But I'm at a point now to where I can see within the next month or so one good trip with some solid hotel bar day drinking. And I will probably be ready to get back to work and get back to serving people and doing fun stuff as soon as I get a couple of things worked out that I'm in the process of right now, a couple of projects that I'm identifying. So I don't anticipate retiring. I like making money. I like spending money. I like having money. I like moving money around, investing, working on cool projects. To me, stress has always been a good thing. It's always been the problems that cause you to create the art.
I like looking at it anatomically. And if you take the heart, for example, a heart can endure stress, and depending on the strength of the muscle will depend on how much stress the heart can endure. It is a normal function for the heart to endure stress. It's what it was created to do. The red flag in the cardiologists become called when the heart becomes stressed. When it is stressed, that means it's at its capacity. And when the heart becomes at its capacity, then it is at risk of having a heart attack or no longer being able to function. So I think that as we look at our faith muscle, which is a big thing, as we look at our belief muscle, as we look at our ability to go into training in life and how we handle the small situations, because how we handle small situations will determine how we handle larger situations. As we manage those small situations day in and day out and be able to keep our calm, breathe, count to 10, whatever it takes, we're exercising that muscle so that it can continue to endure the stress that comes with life, but does not become stressed. Continue to press forward anatomically and look at our situations individually and not allow those things to become too hot or too cold, but continue to press on and allow ourselves to go through life. Then it really does, I think that we can avoid a stressed out heart. And so when the heart becomes stressed out, that is a significant problem. And that's I think where, if people who are in danger of having heart attacks or letting things, it's when you become stressed out. And instead of understanding that stress is a part of life, as you continue to manipulate the muscle and understand that we were built to endure it, but it never needs to come to a point to where it is all encompassing.
And I don't think that you need to live with being just overwhelmed by stressors. But what we're dealing with ultimately is Tony Schwartz and Jim Loehr talk about. Stress is a wave. It is a wave of energy that comes at you. It is a wave of energy that leaves your body in the form of exertion. And so just like a sine and a cosine, if you have waves of exertion, the way to recover from stress is to push waves of recovery into your body.
I like that, yeah.
And the waves of recovery can come in the form of mental, physical, spiritual, emotional. Those are kind of the big four. If we go all the way back to 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which was really big in the 90s, he talks about sharpen the saw. Well, what is sharpen the saw? Sharpen the saw is waves of recovery, mental, reading, things that challenge you mentally, things that, they could be puzzles, but they could also be biographies, things that make you think, that give you new frameworks, new ideas, business books. That's mental recovery, mental growth. Physical recovery could be sleep. The best form of physical recovery there is sleep, followed closely by stretching, hydration, electrolytes. For us, we're Christians, we read the Bible. And so for us, meditating in Scripture, praying, reciting, memorizing Scripture, going through books about the thing that you're working on. If you're working on finances, you're working on health, they have topical index books ad nauseum by the thousands. Scriptures for childbirth, the scriptures for financial recovery, the scriptures for success in business, the scriptures for community, the scriptures for political wins. You can go and study those for spiritual growth, and it bolsters your faith. The Bible says faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word. And then from an emotional standpoint, and I think it's Better Way to Live by Mandino, tells his first-person narrative story to where stopping off once a week at the bar became every night at the bar, became alcoholism, became lost his job, lost his house, lost his family. And he was 35 and was basically homeless and penniless. And so he said the antidote to that is to make your emotional recovery with the people that you love. The way he says it is, always make spending time with your family your greatest reward for your hard work. What Jessica and I have always tried to do is make this spending time with our family be the thing that we get to do, to where that family dinner at 6 every night is the time that we get to spend with our kids because of the hard work that we've done. And I think that's one of the reasons why our kids still like having dinner with us.
I love in his book, Play It Away, when he's talking about helping to reframe the thought process. Instead of you're working to play, you're actually playing to work. You use your time of throwing the frisbee. You use your time of taking the kids to the park and throwing the ball. And when the story becomes reframed to where that is the thing that gives you the clear-headedness, the ability to be able to work hard the next day, instead of the other way around. Like, I got to hurry it. There's, in Silicon Valley especially, there's this pulse and there's this constant beat of, I just got to work and I got to grind. And then if I work and I grind enough, then I can go play with my kids, or then I can go on vacation. And when you flip the coin to the other side and begin to look at it from the perspective of, well, what if we vacated so that we could go and work better and be better employee or better boss or a better person in the community? What if my very waking up the next morning to get my job done and my success for the day was actually dependent upon the amount of time I spent with my kids the night before, and the quality of playtime, going out and going for a jog or going for a bike ride or seeing a sunset? When we decide to look at it from the standpoint of humanity, out of all of the species, are the only ones that can choose to play. Everything else, all the animals, all the birds, all the bees, all the everything, they're surviving, and that's it. Their meaning to life is to survive and stay alive and not get dead. Humans are the only ones on this entire planet that can play, praise, that can have gratitude, that can choose comedy over drama. That is our superpower out of all of the beings. And when we begin to choose to play and we begin to exercise our superpower of choosing gratitude and joyfulness and playfulness, then it's that unique ability to play which will actually inspire us, motivate us, give us the creative insight that we need and is required in order to work. Everyone can work. The dog works for his food. The bees work for their food. But not everybody can play.
One of the things that I've been doing the last few weeks is I've been playing. Like, I've been going and playing. I've played more golf in the last month than I probably played in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think that's like 3 times.
Yeah.
I'm playing guitar more. I'm reading. I'm watching TV, which, that's like taboo, right? Federuccio, I think, Lamborghini. We don't pay for ads. Our target audience is not sitting around watching TV. I love that.
That makes sense.
That makes me want to buy a Lamborghini just for that quote. So to me, I've always looked at watching TV as something that weekends and vacations are for customers. My job is to work and to provide for the family, and that's usually 6 and 7 days a week. But now I'm sitting and watching TV. Friends of mine who, God bless them, somebody needs to be worried about what's going on in the administration. I'm so busy trying to feed my family and doing what it takes to build and grow my business and take care of my responsibilities that I don't even know how people have time. How can you have time to make $1 million a year or $2 million a year and have time to be worried about, what's happening in some part of the country? I don't really have time to watch TV, but now all of a sudden I'm getting a chance to play and watch TV and watch stuff about Rembrandt and see these beautiful paintings and that I want to travel around the world and go spend time in Amsterdam and Paris and the Hawk and go see Van Gogh and Rembrandt and see what these great artists did. But the third way to deal with stress as we close today is to deal with the narrative and make sure that the narrative that you have about yourself and your life, my narrative is I wake up and I focus on the most important thing, the biggest blocker that's in the way of whatever business that I'm trying to build that day. And that's all I do. That might take me 12 hours. It might take me 12 minutes, but that's my focus. I work in the application of constraint theory every single day. It works out to about 2.5 to 3 hours of really good deep work a day, starting at 4 a.m. when I wake up. And then, my day is, if my day isn't done by 7 a.m., something is wrong. And then I go into administrative stuff at 7:30. And then usually I'm done with meetings by 10:30, 11 o'clock. And then I go to the gym, go work out, or I'll go sleep. Sometimes I go to the gym at night. If your entire life is reactive based on doing what somebody else is doing, that's not stressful. That's slavery. Slavery is alive and well in this planet. And sometimes it's called jobs, corporate jobs, working for the squishy Oreo cookie middle. I would not recommend giving away sovereignty and agency and coherence, the sense of nobility that we have in this country and around the world. And sovereignty is not something you take. Sovereignty is something you have. It's something you are, and something that you refuse to give away. Only through abdication can you be separated from sovereignty. And so understanding that your narrative is made up of facts and it's made up of opinions, and your subconscious mind couldn't give a rip about what the facts actually are in your life. Maybe you did crack. Maybe you're 50 pounds overweight. Those are facts. And you would think that the facts are the things that we are most messed up about, and it's not the case. The thing that we're most messed up about in our life is about the unchecked and negatively biased opinions that are coupled to those facts that your subconscious believes is true, right? I did these horrible things, that makes me white trash and deserve to live in a trailer park. The deserve to live in a trailer park thing, that's an opinion. Nietzsche, I think. Nietzsche, sorry, famous dude, I can't say his name. Nietzsche said it best. If you think somebody ruined your life, you're absolutely right. It was you. You're the only one that can ruin your life. And you're the only one that can fix it. I don't really think of that even as being tough love. I think of it as just love. Because once people recognize that you have agency, you have sovereignty, you have coherence, you have the ability to make decisions in your life, and that the quality of your life will be based on the quality of your decisions. The quality of your life will be based on the questions you ask yourself. The quality of your life will be based on how much ambiguity and uncertainty you can actually deal with in your life as we work through getting the unchecked negative opinions out of our narrative through the books like Jim Loehr and Tony Schwartz have done. Basically, you take the pancreatic cancer out of your emotions, and it stops bleeding you dry of that force of will to go after what it is that you want. People see, boy, if I could just get to be a little more ambitious. It's actually the opposite. All you got to do is take away the things that are robbing you of your sovereignty and your agency and your coherence, and the ambition will naturally blossom. Because as I learned from my great friend and a coach and a mentor to me, Chris Doris, the all-in state is the natural state of mankind. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.